Welcome back to the deep dive. We've got some really fascinating source material you sent over this time. It's the full transcripts from that recent meeting, the bilateral and the press conference,
Yeah.
with former President Trump and Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban.
Yeah, and it wasn't just, a handshake and photo op. This was like a full policy discussion laid out. So our mission today really is to get past the mutual admiration, you could say, and pull out the actual policy points, the strategy behind this relationship they're building. We're talking alliances, the war in Ukraine, definitely, but also U.S. economic stuff, domestic politics, the whole foundation of what they seem to be calling this new conservative alliance.
Exactly. The transcripts give us a kind of blueprint, don't they? Not just of a political friendship, but maybe a shared strategy on the world stage.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Where should we start? How about how they describe their own relationship? What language did they use right out of the gate?
Well, the language was unusually warm, I'd say. Intense, even. Suggests something, deeper than just standard diplomacy. Former President Trump called Prime Minister Orban not just a colleague, but specifically a friend.
A friend, okay.
Yeah, and a very powerful man. Someone who's beloved in Hungary.
That's strong praise. But it went even further, didn't it? There was that really sweeping comment about Hungary itself.
Oh, yeah, exactly. The former president made this, frankly, extraordinary claim that Hungary has no crime.
No crime. At all.
That's what he said. And free of the problems, like some countries do, it sort of sets Hungary up immediately as this ideological model, something he thinks is working where maybe other Western countries are failing in his view.
And Orban, did he mirror that warmth?
He did, absolutely. But with a sharp political edge aimed right at the previous U.S. administration, the Democrats. He basically said they'd ruined, canceled relations, used the phrase, a lot of harm had been done.
Right, I remember that.
But then he credits former President Trump with bringing things back, restored the old level, was his phrase. And he said this meeting, this moment, sets them up to open a new chapter.
A new chapter leading to...
A golden age. That was the term he used. A golden age between the U.S. and Hungary.
Wow. A golden age.
Yeah.
That's more than just symbolic, isn't it? It implies real deep strategic stuff. And they did mention specific areas, right?
Mm-hmm. They confirmed they're looking at boosting cooperation across the board. Economic, military, and political.
Okay, political cooperation.
Yep.
That led straight to Ukraine, I imagine.
Immediately. Orban really emphasized this, calling it the most important issue for Hungary. Which makes sense. I mean, they share a border. It's right there.
Yeah, proximity matters hugely. And this is where Orban made some claims that probably raised eyebrows in other European capitals, right?
About
being pro-peace.
Definitely. He stated pretty bluntly that in Europe, the only really pro-peace government is, quote, small Hungary, standing alongside the U.S. or at least a potential future U.S. administration.
That's quite a statement. Basically saying Hungary and maybe Trump-led U.S. are the only ones serious about peace.
That's the implication. A direct challenge to Brussels, to NATO consensus. He argued that, other European governments actually prefer to keep the war going.
Why? Did he say why?
He put it down to a misunderstanding, his word. The idea that Ukraine can actually win militarily on the front line, he thinks that's just wrong.
And he also sort of flipped the script on who's pushing for war, didn't he? Blaming the previous U.S. administration?
He did. He claimed the pressure from the last administration, the Democrats, actually pushed Europe into being more pro-war.
So the idea is change the U.S. leadership, change Europe's stance on the war.
That's the clear argument he's making, yeah. Cause and effect.
No way.
Washington changes, then Kiev and Brussels change. And Trump himself, his comments on the war, he put the blame squarely on his successor, said he inherited the war.
Inherited it.
Yeah, and that it should have been a one-week war that never should have started in the first place. Avoidable, basically.
Okay. And he also mentioned a specific number, a human cost figure that was pretty shocking.
He did. He claimed Russia is losing 7,000 soldiers a week. Now, we're just reporting the claim from the transcript, but putting that number out there, whether it's accurate or not, it really underscores the massive human toll.
Which both leaders agreed needs to stop.
Right. Despite maybe different takes on how it started, they both agreed the war needs to end. And, in the not-too-distant future.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's drill into maybe the more technical side, but really crucial, the energy question. Hungary needing that oil exemption. This really gets to the heart of their position, doesn't it? Because they're landlocked.
Absolutely. It's pure geography, not ideology. Trump actually confirmed this, saying it's hard for Hungary to get oil and gas from elsewhere because, well, they don't have sea, no ports.
Right, no easy way to get LNG tankers in.
Exactly. And Orban really hammered this point home. Pipeline supply, he said, is a physical reality. It's not an ideological or political issue for them. They don't have the options that coastal nations do.
And the dependency isn't minor, is it? It's huge.
Massive. He laid out the specifics, which honestly helps you understand why Hungary has to navigate these EU sanctions differently.
Give us those details again, because the numbers really paint a picture.
Okay, so for gas, 90%. 9 out of 10 Hungarian homes rely on gas for heating.
90%, wow.
And that gas primarily comes through the Turkish pipeline. The other option, the Croatian pipeline, he called it very small volume supplementary gas, so not a real alternative for the bulk of their needs.
So basically one main artery for gas. What about oil?
Similar story, really. The main supply is the Druzhba pipeline coming from the east. Again, there's a Croatian pipeline, but he said it's secondary, and making it the main supply would need big investments.
So they're kind of stuck, infrastructure-wise. This geographic and pipeline reality explains a lot about why EU sanctions on Russian energy hit them so hard, differently than Spain or Germany, maybe.
Precisely. It makes achieving full energy independence from Russia incredibly difficult, almost an existential challenge for them right now.
And that difficulty, that need for maybe a different path than Brussels dictates, that leads us right into the bigger political picture, doesn't it? That whole idea someone raised about this meeting being the rebirth of the new conservative world alliance.
Orban definitely leans into that. He described his government very specifically, the only government in Europe which considers itself as a modern Christian government.
A modern Christian government. That's a unique branding.
It is. He pictures Hungary as this special island of difference in a liberal ocean in Europe. And he stressed this approach isn't new. It goes back to 2010, especially on key issues like migration.
Yes, immigration.
Yeah.
That was clearly a major point where they found common ground, forming the basis for this potential alliance.
Totally. Trump explicitly praised Orban for not making the mistake on immigration he claims Europe made.
What mistake was that, according to Trump?
He linked Europe's migration policies directly to rising crime and making countries unrecognizable. Strong words.
And Orban's description of Hungary's own policy.
Very direct. He said Hungary has zero illegal migration. Simple as that.
Zero. How?
He explained their law requires people to get permission from Hungarian authorities before they can even step onto Hungarian soil. No permission, no entry.
Okay, a very strict pre-approval system.
Yeah.
But this policy, which Trump praised, it comes at a cost.
Right.
A cost from the EU.
A huge cost. Orban revealed this really startling figure.
Daily fine.
Exactly. He said Hungary is under financial sanctions of European Union. They're forced to pay 1 million euros every single day.
€1 million a day as a punishment.
As a punishment, his word, paid into the Brussels budget specifically because they stop illegal migration according to their rules. That's an incredible daily pressure.
That puts a number on the political commitment, doesn't it? €1 million every 24 hours. You'd think that level of conflict with the EU might make him seem vulnerable, but he sounded confident.
Oh, yeah, very confident. He made sure to remind everyone he's the longest-serving prime minister of Europe.
Right.
And added that he's survived all the prime ministers who attacked us. It's not just stating a fact, it's a clear message of resilience aimed at Brussels, but also, his audience back home.
That conflict, that €1 million a day fine, it's a powerful symbol. And it seems like the conversation pivoted right from that international clash straight into U.S. domestic politics. Why do that? Why talk about U.S. issues right after the EU fine?
Well, it looks like an attempt to connect the dots, maybe, to draw a parallel between this external ideological alignment with Orban and the internal political fights happening in the U.S. The former president used the moment, this international stage, to really hammer home some key domestic points.
Okay, like what? Let's start with the economic claims he made. They seemed quite specific.
They were. He claimed, for instance, that Thanksgiving dinner would cost 25% less this year compared to last year, and he cited Walmart for that.
Okay, what about broader economics? Inflation, Gas prices.
He asserted inflation is almost non-existent, down to maybe 2%, and claimed U.S. energy prices are way down. He even predicted $2 a gallon gasoline, contrasting it with, the $4.50 or $5 highs people saw before.
$2 gas. That's a bold prediction. Did he mention investment too? There's a big number there.
There was. He claimed record investment under his administration, mentioning figures over $18 trillion. Said he expected $20 or $21 trillion by the end of his first year back in office, and he contrasted that sharply with the previous administration, which he pegged at less than $1 trillion over 4 years.
So using the international platform to boost a narrative of economic success back home.
Seems like it. Contrasting U.S. strength as he sees it with maybe struggles elsewhere. Then he shifted to political strategy, using the gridlock in Washington as a reason for some pretty aggressive moves.
Like blaming the government shutdown.
Yeah, he blamed it on crazed Democrats, claiming they rejected opening measures 14 times.
And this led him to argue for getting rid of the Senate filibuster, right? The nuclear option, he called it.
Exactly. For anyone listening, that's the Senate rule often needing 60 votes, not just 51, to pass a big thing. It gives the minority party a lot of power to block legislation.
And he had a list of things he'd pass immediately if that filibuster was gone.
He did. Things like voter ID laws, no more mail-in voting, ending cash bail, and significantly denying welfare benefits to illegals.
And connecting that last point about immigration and welfare, he used another very specific, very alarming number.
Yes. To really drive home the point on border security and denying benefits, he claimed that 11,888 murderers were among those who had crossed the border illegally.
11,000. That's a number designed to grab attention, clearly, to justify that zero-tolerance approach he and Orban were talking about.
Undoubtedly. It provides a stark, quantifiable reason, in his view, for the policies they support.
And he finished that section with a comment about Nancy Pelosi.
Right. He just noted her stepping down from leadership was a great asset for America. So yeah, that whole domestic segment felt like using the international spotlight to rally his base on key campaign issues back in the U.S.
Okay, that really covers the ground from the golden age talk to the pipeline realities to these intense domestic claims. If you were to sum up the core themes for you, the listener, what really emerges from synthesizing all this?
I think what really stands out is this solidification of a very particular conservative vision is shared between these two leaders, and it really puts national sovereignty, border control way up high on the priority list. But that vision bumps up against hard realities, right? Like Hungary's physical need for Russian energy clashing with EU sanctions.
Yeah.
And driving all of this seems to be the shared goal, stated very clearly, of ending the war in Ukraine fast, even if that means, shaking up the current Western approach.
Yeah, the fascinating look at how national foreign policy works today, mixing strategic needs, like energy, with deep ideological agreement. Which leaves us with that final thought to chew on, building on Orban calling his government modern Christian and him being Europe's longest-serving leader, that €1 million daily fine from the EU. Is that just a sign of a complex regulatory dispute that they can manage? Or does it signal something deeper, a fundamental clash of political visions right at the heart of Europe, a clash that maybe can't be easily resolved and could reshape the continent's future?
Something definitely worth thinking about as these alliances continue to shift and form.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.